Welcome to Wii U Quick Reviews, the show where I review any Wii U game as quickly as possible. Today's game is... Let's get started. Of all the big multimedia spanning brands of the world, few are just as recognizable as Sanrio. The characters, specifically the ever-popular Hello Kitty, are everywhere. In fact, some may not even know that there are more Sanrio characters than just Hello Kitty. There are, and they have a Wii U game, Hello Kitty Cruisers with Sanrio friends. Racing games, if done right, are a great way to provide fans with a crossover of all their favorite characters from a franchise, and Sanrio has such a beloved set that a game like this makes perfect sense. Yeah, it's not good. The obvious issue seems like a good place to start. These graphics. The Sanrio characters are all traditionally animated and drawn in 2 dimensions. They have been adapted to 3 dimensions many times before, however, with variable levels of success. It's plain to see that this is not one of the better adaptations. The face textures are of a low resolution, and the lighting on many models looks harsh. Luckily, you don't really see any of this during gameplay, but gameplay is flawed and unoptimized. As a party racer following in Mario Kart's footsteps, there are fantastical tracks to navigate and item pickups to help you out. Included are tracks on which you drive a car, boat, or plane. The boat is the hardest to control by far, the car's controls are only passable, and the plane flies pretty alright. Each vehicle can drift around corners, although it's not all that necessary, given the wide paths on every track as well as the relatively slow pace of the races. And you probably shouldn't do much drifting anyway since it makes a horrible screeching noise. There are also obstacles and speed boosts on every course. It all sounds just adequate so far. But these obstacles. Look at that bee! Look at that crab, they just slide on across the course. Moving to items, the green shell equivalent, the cake, just slides right on down the track too. The traffic cones, which are the banana stand-ins, are super small and a breeze to avoid. And without a homing item, it's really easy for one player to pull ahead and just remain there for the entire race. The tracks are all flat for the most part, with no hills, or jumps, or pits, or anything. Except for when you're flying in the plane, when suddenly hills exist. Would have been nice to have those earlier. Despite the simple tracks, the computer still gets stuck in the corners occasionally. There's 16 tracks separated into 4 Grand Prix, and when you win one, it just sorta happens. No big celebration. Sometimes you unlock characters and vehicles. I'm not really sure how that works, it just sorta happened. There's 10 characters total, a pretty fine selection actually, each with 3 cute outfits, and 10 vehicles of each of the 3 types. None of the vehicles are interesting in the slightest, but 3 colors are available for each. Whoa! The prior mentioned Grand Prix mode can be played with 1 to 4 players, as can the free race mode. And there's even a mission mode, surprisingly enough. They've certainly gotten Mario Kart beat there, even if the missions are repetitive and boring. That said, let's see how it all stacks up in the pros and cons. Hello Kitty Cruisers has awful graphics, boring track design, flawed gameplay, and no polish at all. The music is alright, it's a bit catchy even, but you'll be listening to the same few songs over and over again. The characters are a big plus, being recognizable and downright adorable, but they just aren't enough to save the game outright. I'm big surprised this game is available on the Nintendo Switch. Huh. Strange enough, the Switch port actually looks and runs a bit better. And there's ports for the 3DS and Steam? I can't speak for how those look, but they're under a different name, Hello Kitty and Sanrio Friends Racing. The game still plays equally bad on all platforms though. You may be wondering how multiplayer runs. Well, especially when using the boat, quite a few frames dropping. It is almost unplayable at times, and I only tested it with 2 players. Imagine 4. Multiplayer isn't very fun regardless, it's very easy for a player to pull ahead and the items aren't designed well enough for anyone to catch up. Let's talk price. Hello Kitty Cruisers used to be the rarest, most expensive Wii U game, commanding prices of $80 to $100. Luckily, it's only a measly $40 to $50 now. You can also purchase it on the Wii U eShop for $20, and it occasionally goes on sale. I don't have to tell you, none of that is worth it. The Switch version runs a great deal cheaper. If you really need your Hello Kitty racing game, that's the version to get. Overall, Hello Kitty Kruisers is a licensed disaster. In another world, it might have been pretty good, but it's just an unpolished, boring mess. You can probably skip this one.